Here we have an excellent article from the Forbes and David Axe. It's one thing to pledge a bunch of surplus tanks to the Ukrainian war effort. It's another, actually, to get the old tanks into working order and train crews to operate them, especially after the tanks have been in storage for 19 years. The Danish government learned that lesson the hard way after a consortium of Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands, and later Belgium, in February, announced it would donate to Ukraine an initial 100 or so 1,980 S vintage Leopard 1A5 tanks. Over the next 6 months, the pledge swelled to as many as 178 tanks. That's a lot of tanks, as many as 5 battalions worth. And as each Leopard has a crew of 4, they require a lot of tankers. Training nearly 1,000 tankers demanded a crash effort by Denmark and Germany, a crash effort that needed the help of a few museums. With the consortium so far having delivered just 10 Leopard 1A5S, the training is ongoing and could continue through 2024 as Kiev's allies fulfill their tank pledge and train any replacement crews the Ukrainian armed forces require. The Danish army was the most recent Leopard 1A5 operator. It retired its last Leopard 1 back in 2005, ultimately replacing the type with the heavier Leopard 2. There are still some aging former Leopard 1A5 crew members in the Danish Army's sole armored unit, the Jutland Dragoon Regiment. These craggy Danish veterans formed the training cadre, and reinforced by some retired Danish tankers who volunteered to return to government service, set up shop at the Klietz training ground west of Berlin. They were joined by German instructors who had experience on German Army engineering vehicles, which share the Leopard 1's chassis. The Ukrainian trainees began arriving in May. According to a Danish military release, the Danes assumed responsibility for the first phase of their training, the basic stuff. The Germans took over for the second phase. Translators and contractors from German industry assist both phases. The training is short, just 6 weeks. By contrast, the Danes train their own tankers over a 2-month program. It helps that many of the Ukrainians are hardened veterans of Russia's 19-month wider war on Ukraine. They already know how to fight in a tank. There is no reason for us to tell them something they already know, one Danish instructor said. Having hired instructors, the consortium also needed vehicles for the trainees to practice on. While the Germans have made use of their turretless training vehicles, which previously trained drivers of engineering vehicles, the final stages of instruction, including gunnery, require combat-capable tanks. Again, the Leopard 1A5's age posed a problem. Most of the tanks actually belonged to German firm Flensburger Fahrzeugbau Gesellschaft and had been sitting in a warehouse for 2 decades. They needed refurbishment, but the training wouldn't wait. It is clear that we do not have that much time, because it is important that the tankers come back to Ukraine and can help their comrades in the defense of Ukraine, said Major Kim Fonseca, Chief of Staff of the Danish Army's Armored Battalion. So the consortium asked for help from Danish museums. Apparently, the handful of Leopard 1A5S on display in museums were in better condition than were the nearly 100 in storage. 3 museums lent the consortium 6 working tanks so that the training of the Ukrainians could begin immediately, the Danish military stated. 4 months later, workers at German tank maker Rheinmetall are turning over refurbished, practically new-looking, Leopard 1A5S at an accelerating rate. 10 are in Ukraine, while others have joined the museum tanks in Klietz in order to bolster the training effort. How long the training program continues depends on how long the war continues, and how many more old Leopard 1S Ukraine's allies can recover from some private companies' warehouses or from the one NATO country that still operates the tanks, Greece. And let's see the other news. More than 420,000 Russian troops are located in the occupied territories of Ukraine, including Crimea, said the main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. This figure does not include the Russian National Guard and other security forces that support the occupation authorities on Ukrainian territories. Despite a significant number of military personnel and a large arsenal of military equipment, including tanks, armored vehicles, artillery, multiple launch rocket systems, and missile systems, Russia has not been able to achieve its main goal: complete occupation of the territory of Ukraine for more than a year and a half since the start of the full-scale war. According to the Deputy Chief of Intelligence, Russia is currently actively conducting military operations in two main areas, Kupiansk-Lyman and Mariinka-Donetsk. This is done to achieve certain military goals and reach the administrative borders of Luhansk and Donetsk regions. This information was announced during the annual meeting of the Yalta European Strategy with the participation of the Deputy Chief of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. Ukrainian forces are cracking the Russian defense lines step by step. They drive a chisel into the lines and then widen the rift by moving into the flanks. This might not look fast, but it is how you break defense networks, and it is working. This is, however, not even the most important news. More importantly are the Russian troop movements in that sector. The deployment of the Russian 76th Guards Air Assault Division is an admission that the Ukrainian progress has reached such critical state for the Russian invasion army that they are even forced to deploy one of their offensive forces for defense operations. It does not only prove the level of desperation, but also diminishes Russian capabilities for offensive operations. Furthermore, the Russian offensive at Kupiansk-Kreminna is now completely exposed as what it is, a diversionary attack. And the real battle in the south is about logistics and supply lines. Ukrainians not only hammer the front line, but the whole logistical network of the Russian army. The more Russian troops move in, the harder it gets for them to sustain that level of logistical support, a proficiency where they already proved to be weak. Additionally, Russians are taking more and more risks by not only bringing more of their troops into Ukrainian artillery range, but also exposing other frontline sectors. The attrition rate of the Russian army units comes on top of that too. We already have eyewitness accounts of Russian POWs, disclosing profound Russian losses even within their newly deployed formations, such as the 76th Division. The strategy of the Ukrainian army might not look spectacular, but it works when continued to its logical end. It is exactly how an army would operate in order to soften up an entrenched enemy to a point where it is untenable to continue to fight and withdraw. All what is needed is stamina and patience.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. He's doing the job every day.